Major US tech stocks took a huge tumble this past week, but what's not being talked about is India. India's Nifty IT index dropped nearly 7%. Guys, that's the biggest drop in 4 months. And the index, India's index, is down nearly 18% since early 2025. But what's happening? Why is this occurring? Well, AI is definitely to blame, and we're going to talk about that in today's video. But this really shouldn't be a huge surprise. I mean, a few weeks ago, we covered that the TCS profits are down 14%, and they fired 30,000 employees. And this is one of the biggest IT hiring and employment firms within India. Just that the entire system in India is getting upended. And I think it's worth talking about today, not just because of what's happening with India, not just because of the implications in the IT world that are being impacted by AI, but also how to stay relevant, respected, and financially free in 2026. There's a lot of things that we can learn from what's happening in India, because please believe the things that are impacting India are coming here to the United States to impact careers and employees and graduates here in the United States. And, who's at risk and how we stay relevant, we'll talk about that here in just a moment. First, I want to cover exactly why we're seeing these big drops in India. And, the reason here, quite frankly, is AI. We're seeing insane advances in AI tools, and it's completely threatening India's $238 billion IT sector. Well, at least the way that it's set up now. You see, the Indian IT sector is built on high-skilled, low-cost, English-speaking labor. And the reality is that we're living in a world that's dramatically changing very, very quickly thanks to AI agents. 2026, I think, is the year of the AI agent. We've seen just this past week major updates from OpenAI, Claude, and we even saw the open source OpenClaw model go live as well. So we're seeing tons and tons of, how do I say this, acceleration in the implementation of AI agents. And these AI agents, this AI and automation is eating all that routine work, and it's shifting the needs of IT companies from the base labor to the more high-skilled, critical thinking type of labor. Again, we'll cover that in a little bit more here in a moment, but what's happening here is this is squeezing out the young engineers and completely disrupting the hiring ladder. You see, these powerful tools are replacing this entry-level work, and what's occurring here is now experts can use this AI and use these AI tools to become more efficient. They don't need to necessarily outsource that base grunt labor to new software engineers. Basically what we're seeing here is we're seeing a shift from, we need base labor, fresh out of college type of labor to, well, I can use critical thinking, I can use my proper judgment, I can use my years of wisdom, and I can use AI-powered problem solving to become much more effective. And by the way, this is not actually what I had expected when I started really looking at AI a few years ago. I was kind of expecting, well, you put AI in the hands of a beginner, they're going to become much more proficient much more quickly, and the older people like myself are not going to be able to adapt as quickly to these new tools. And we're still seeing how that plays out, but I think what we're seeing right now actually is that the people that are experts in their field have been doing it for a long time, kind of know how to sniff out garbage. They know how to sniff out junk, and what they're ended up doing is saying, well, I can use AI to get a lot of code written or a lot of effectiveness or a lot of efficiency very quickly, but I'm also able to sniff out junk. Listen, I'm not a software developer, I'm not a software engineer. Some guys called me out on this in my OpenClaw video a few days ago, and that's fine. That's not what I am. I'm in marketing, I'm a marketer. I focus on running ads, writing ads, traffic conversions, that sort of thing, right? And I can tell you this, we use a lot of AI in all the projects we work on, particularly in copywriting. And I can tell you, ChatGPT and these various tools are awesome at writing copy quickly, but there's a lot of garbage. So as someone who has spent time studying the craft, understands what converts, I can go in and take that written word that's 80% there and clean it up so that it's ready to fire. And I think that's what we're seeing here in the engineering field as well. Because, and by the way, this is not just software. It's not just copywriting. We're seeing a huge amount of generative AI agents replacing call center employees. And India is a major hub for call centers. Believe it or not, it's true. I know, it's hard to believe, but it is true. I mean, we saw a company called LimeChat automate 5,000 jobs. They're using AI to handle over 10,000 calls monthly. LimeChat is. And I also shared this in a video a little while ago. I'll post a link to it here about how auto mechanics are using AI to replace roles inside of auto mechanic companies and agencies. And a perfect example of that is a friend of mine who is using an AI agent answering machine to schedule 15 to 20% of the appointments in his mechanic's office. So this is a person that he does, there's no callbacks in the morning, there's no outsourcing, there's no 24/7 person who's on call. No, it's an AI agent that receives the calls, figures out the problem, and schedules the appointment the following day. So again, these AI call center bots are crazy. I mean, we'll get more into that in later videos, but what I'm trying to highlight here is that a lot of the core roles, core jobs that the Indian market has solved are starting to be outsourced by AI. And again, this is not exactly how I expected this to play out, but this does appear the way it's going to be playing out. But listen, guys, we're seeing this happen, but to be fair, this really shouldn't be that much of a surprise, because the reality is we've been covering this stuff for months. We've seen this evolution. Like, if you're surprised that companies are using AI to write software and replace humans in call centers, you're behind the 8 ball. If you've been subscribed to the channel, you would know that this is already happening. We're seeing companies spending hundreds of billions of dollars on artificial intelligence. They need to make it work. We covered this in a video a few days ago about Oracle. I'll post a link to it here. In the speculation, this is not Facebook official yet, but what it looks like is Oracle is needing to free up cash to build out AI infrastructure. Where are they going to get that cash? Rumor has it they're going to be firing tens of thousands of employees. We'll see if that plays out. We don't know for sure. It's not official. But the reality is these companies are spending so much money. I mean, they're planning to spend upwards of $1 trillion on AI development this year. They need to make it work. Okay, they need to make it work. I mean, we saw Salesforce delete half of their customer service staff a few months ago because they said, quote, AI agents can do the work more efficiently. They need to make it work. We've also seen college graduate unemployment increase. Why? Because companies are cleaning up their staff, they're laying off, and they're putting freezes on hiring. They're just not hiring as much right now. Why? Because why would I hire someone who's book smart, not street smart, when I have AI that's also book smart and not street smart? The entire, we covered this in a video too, I'll post a link to it here. The entire career ladder has been upended in a lot of tremendous ways. And this has to have everyone thinking, especially my Indian brothers and sisters out there, well, what does that mean for me? How am I going to remain relevant, respected, and financially free when the career ladder, particularly bad, I think in India, has been shut down? We'll cover that in just a moment. Because what companies are looking for now is they need wisdom. They need critical thinking. They don't need someone that just shows up and does grunt work anymore, because the AI can do that when it's overseen by someone that has the critical thinking. They have the natural problem solving in place. Again, we're going to get to that in a moment, because I think that when you think about where you're going to be at over the next 5 to 10 years professionally, and feeding your family, the problems that you're solving today are not going to be the problems you're solving tomorrow. And just another quick note on this, guys. As AI becomes more and more and more integrated, you're going to see far less humans capable of critical thinking or problem solving. All my dads out there, can I get an amen on that? Because our job as parents and as employers and whatnot, we want to lift our people up, especially all the dads. I want to speak to the dads here, actually. You want to lift your kids up, okay? And I talk to my kids all the time. And they say, well, all these other kids in class do it this way. They all watch Netflix. They all have smartphones. I'm like, okay, you're not they all, you are you. And if you want to stand out in this world, you have to be different. You have to do things differently. You can't just do what everyone else is doing. And this is becoming an insanely big problem for kids. Listen to this, 64% of fourth graders cannot read proficiently. 64%. I'm coach of a young kids baseball team, and a lot of the kids have a hard time paying attention. They have a hard time, they get distracted easily, they goof off, and again, they're 6 years old, they're boys, like, okay, I get it. But they have a hard time paying attention, and I sent out some homework this week to all the parents. I said, hey, get your kids to read a little bit this week. Get your kids to read, because the reality is that as AI starts funneling and cramming down your throat what to believe and what to think, and here's the answer, less and less kids are gonna be critically thinking. And this is gonna manifest even more what's the word I'm looking for? Prolifically, as people are wearing these AI wearables. AI glasses on every person's face is going to be a reality. Y'all might not agree with me, but hot take, within the next 5 to 10 years, almost every human is going to have AI glasses on, and it's going to be remembering things for you. It's going to be explaining things to you. The reality is human beings are going to become idiocracy. We're going to become Wall-E. We're not going to understand anything that's happening around us because our AI glasses are just feeding it into us. Anyway, I went off a little bit of a tangent. I just wanted to cover that, and kind of juxtapose how to stand out. Because the reality is, if you want to be hireable, if you want to get the job, if you want to keep the job, you're going to need to stand out. You can't just be like everyone else. So where does this put us? Well, we're seeing massive disruption in the IT workspace as a whole. It's especially a big deal in India. And right now, India accounts for about 16% of the world's AI talent. And as I mentioned before, companies are investing billions and billions in Indian AI infrastructure. We've talked about this. I think India is ready to really pop. The question is, who's going to pop along with it? There's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into India. We covered this in a video a few weeks back. And even Microsoft, I'll post a link to this video here. Microsoft has committed to upskilling 20 million Indian workers in AI for reasons that we mentioned before. You get highly skilled, English-speaking, lower wage workers, right? That is going to happen. And India is producing 1.5 million software engineers annually, graduating annually. But there's a problem. The bottom layer of that career ladder is being removed. And again, this is not just India, but again, speaking to all my Indian brothers out there, it's being removed. So how do you survive this? How do you survive this? And as someone who works with a couple dozen people, I lead a bunch of people, I've worked with a ton of people overseas in India and the Philippines, Pakistan, Serbia. I've worked with a ton of people. And what I can tell you is there's a few things that I'm really paying attention to right now, and I would really be looking at if I was looking to hire someone. So the first of which is, if you're at the beginning of your ladder, or even if you're in the kind of the middle and you're trying to figure out where you fit in, learn, execute, and get results. This is not the time to get comfortable. This is not the time to say, well, this is what's worked in the past. This is what my teacher told me worked 20 years ago. Throw all that out the window, okay? Throw all that window. What matters now is that you're keeping up with what's new, with what's changed, because everything has changed. It's not enough to just have a job. You need to be able to show results. We covered this a few days ago as well. We're moving out of this hourly wage-based economy, and we're moving into a results-based, what can you do for me economy? I think within the next 5 years, people are not going to care what college you went to. They're going to say, well, what have you done? What have you built? What are the results you've gotten? Oh, you were running the ads and marketing for a $5 million annual SaaS company. Well, when you started running ads, what was your return on ad spend? What was your customer acquisition cost? What were the lifetime value? Like, they're going to start asking questions like that, and you need to have answers. What software have you built? What AI systems have you created? What were the problems that you ran into? It's going to be about results. And by the way, I think one of the cool things with AI is that you don't necessarily need to work for a huge organization. You can be AI powered. You can say, okay, this is my niche, this is the problem I solve. I'm gonna solve this for one small business, right? You don't need to work necessarily for a huge multinational corporation. You can work for small businesses, because I tell you, there's a ton of small businesses out there that want to use AI. They know AI is big, but they're not sure exactly how to do it. Well, if you know how to do it, if you're willing to do it, or even willing to learn on the cheap, this could be a good time to do that. Because if you can learn on the cheap, get results at solving a problem for one organization, my bet is you can take those results and leverage them to find your next job. So that's important. Leverage every single result to level up. Result, level up, result, level up. That's how you get the reps. Because at the end of the day, in this AI world, what's really gonna matter, in my opinion, is critical thinking, results, and the ability to solve problems. It's gonna be very different from the traditional world of, well, I show up, I get a paycheck, and I kind of hide amongst this huge organization. Those people are getting weeded out. They're getting weeded out. You have to think of yourself as a math problem, or a variable inside of a very large, complicated math problem. And then the final thing I'll say here, guys, is communication, especially for people overseas, my Indian brothers. Communicate and do what you say. The one thing that is a non-negotiable for me, I cannot work with guys overseas, is if they say they're gonna do something and then they don't do it, or I message them and I can't get a response back. If you're the kind of guy that responds back after 2 to 3 days, it's not going to work. It's going to be a really hard slog. You have to communicate quickly. Now, I'm not saying that it's like drop everything and you're communicating, but if I send you a message, don't message me 4 days later and say, okay, I'll look at this. That's not a winning mentality. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people that have that mentality, not just in India. By the way, I work with some Indians that were like, boom, I don't know where they sleep. I really think I had this guy, Rock Team. I don't think he ever slept, ever. The problem was, though, that he stopped doing what he was gonna say he was gonna do. He got comfortable, and he would say, okay, I'll do something. He didn't do it, and after enough times, it led to a loss of a client. I said, hey, we have to separate. We have to go separate ways. So anyway, that's a whole nother tangent. I still have a lot of love for the guy. I would recommend him, assuming that he was able to sort that out. Regardless, the video's going a little bit long here. I just want to say that despite all the challenges that are out there, especially for my Indian brothers and sisters, it's not all doom and gloom. Learn, adapt, execute, and you don't necessarily need to get in with a huge company. There's a lot of smaller companies, there's a lot of small organizations that want to build, and they're gonna need AI. Nobody knows what's going on exactly yet. So if you can find your niche, the riches are in the niches, go out there, leverage the results to level up. All right, guys, if you like today's video, check out yesterday's video where we talk about what's happening in the US market. Trillions of dollars just wiped out of the market cap in AI tech companies yesterday. Check it out. Interesting video. In the meantime, go out, prosper, and I'll catch you in the next video, boys. Peace.